I like surprises and gifts, who doesn't? However, it's one thing when a surprise brings positive emotions. And it's another when a surprise makes you want to crawl into the ground. My wife and my best friend prepared a surprise for me. A surprise I will never forget for the rest of my life. But I didn't lose my mind. And I also gave them a beautiful gift. The past few months have been a challenge for me. I am Danny. The manufacturing company I worked for closed, resulting in more than 200 people being laid off. This company happened to be the main contractor of the company where my wife, Darcy, works. So her working hours were drastically reduced, which had a significant impact on our financial situation. Our closest friends were mainly Darcy's college classmates. Darcy started working at Ekron Solutions right after college. Her close friend Ginger faced some delays due to excessive partying, which led her to graduate a year later than planned. Darcy managed to recruit her to join Ekron later. Trent, who was also part of Darcy and Ginger's college circle, joined Ekron as well. Trent and Ginger got married about 18 months ago, a year after Trent joined the company. Darcy and I got married 5 years ago. With the closure of my company, Trent, Ginger, and Darcy all experienced a reduction in working hours. And I found myself unemployed. Darcy was very supportive while I was looking for new job opportunities. We had to tighten our belts, relying on my unemployment benefits and Darcy's reduced salary. Initially, the four of us planned a luxurious vacation to California's wine country. But due to budget constraints, we scaled down the plan to a weekend getaway in the mountains. Trent and Darcy both had Friday off, and Ginger planned to join us on Friday noon. After her late shift on Thursday, we had a similar trip 2 weeks ago, and we enjoyed it very much. I personally like fishing. Darcy prefers hiking. Ginger likes photography. And Trent enjoys hunting small game and fowl. On the last trip, the ladies suspected Trent and I, worried that we couldn't provide enough food for the weekend. But they were proven wrong. In the wilderness, without 6-packs or bottles of alcohol. So we brought our own supplies. Darcy and I arrived Thursday night, killing time waiting for Trent to join us. I was happy playing, and Darcy enjoyed the pleasant place I took her to. Trent arrived an hour before dusk. After he arrived, we transported the first batch of goods to the place we found 2 weeks ago. About a 20-minute climb from the parking lot. But our cooler, with big wheels, acted as a mule for most of our equipment. After Trent and I set up 2 tents, we went back to the car to get the rest of the items, leaving Darcy alone with Trent's luxurious Beretta A400 shotgun, which he boasted about getting a great deal on at the pawn shop. As someone unfamiliar with firearms, I kept silent during his enthusiastic description. Trent and I have many common interests, so we caught up on our experiences while walking. We carried small backpacks and brought the rest of the luggage to the campsite. Meanwhile, Darcy made a fire and was cooking burgers and hot dogs. Due to the recent rain, the mosquito candle provided little protection. Our campsite was secluded enough. We rarely heard the voices of passers-by. No cell phone signal to browse the internet. We took turns playing my guitar. Although none of us were particularly skilled, it added to the atmosphere under the moonlight. We finished around 11 o'clock. After putting out the fire, the morning can be very cold for those not used to hiking in the mountains. Darcy and I cuddled closely, until she expressed a greater desire. With her muffled moan, I took her to the expected climax. In her excitement, we made love, reaching release without disturbance. The next morning, after making a fire, I shaved while waiting for the coffee to brew. Darcy tied up her hair and joined me as the aroma of coffee filled the air. She was wearing jeans and her favorite sweatshirt. Trent prefers to let others take charge in the morning, and appeared shortly after. After drinking some energy drinks, Trent took his shotgun and went hunting. As soon as he left, Darcy teased me with the promise to repeat the previous night. I slid my hand under her sweatshirt, playing with her body. We agreed to meet around noon to welcome Ginger. After she arrived, I headed to the lake to fish. After finding a comfortable spot on the rocks, I cast my line into the tranquil waters. A man without any fishing gear approached me. He revealed himself as a game warden, asking for my fishing license. I didn't have a license, fortunately. I hadn't caught anything yet. He gave me a warning. My day, possibly the whole weekend of fishing, suddenly came to a halt. Back at our campsite, the scene revealed Darcy engaging in intimate activities in our tent. Although she didn't raise her voice, her words were unmistakably recognizable. "Do it, Trent, I'm about to burn. Oh, my God, I'm about to finish. Make love to me, Trent. Make love to me." Trent's grunts confirmed his involvement. "Oh, God, I'm about to climax. Complete me, baby," my unfaithful wife pleaded. My initial instinct was to end both of them, which almost became a reality. As I entered Trent's tent, grabbed a shotgun, loaded it, my hands trembling more than they should have, I stood outside the tent, hearing Trent's farewell words. "I'm going to get a six-pack. Get ready to revive me for the second round." I stepped back to the tent entrance, waiting for Trent's appearance. As he approached the cooler, I hit him on the back of the head with the butt of the shotgun. He was unconscious before he hit the ground. Now what? I stood quietly, staring at the person I once considered a friend. Although feeling that bastard deserved to die, I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger. As Darcy's voice echoed, my anger reached its peak. "How long has Trent been gone? My throat needs attention." I fired 2 shots from the shotgun into the air. Darcy saw me holding the gun, Trent lying on the ground. Oh, no, my God, what have you done? You killed him." Darcy froze at the tent's entrance, her eyes wide as I pointed the shotgun at her knees. "So your throat needs attention, right? Open your mouth, or I'll blow your head off. Don't scream." Darcy's mouth opened wide. "Do you think a shock and explosion will satisfy your desires? You bitch," tears streaming down her fearful face. I continued. "Killing you is not enough for the pain you deserve. Now get down and stay there until I say otherwise. If I hear a peep, I'll do to you what I did to Trent." Nod to show you understand. She didn't understand a single word. She responded with about 50 quick nods, then turned over and buried her face in the pillow. I took her smartphone from the tent and sealed the entrance. As I examined Trent's lifeless body, a fitting plan came to mind. I untied the anchors at the 4 corners of his tent, each secured with a short piece of rope. With my butcher knife, I cut these connections and tied a rope to Trent's left ankle. I dragged his naked and unconscious body through the rocks and thorny bushes, heading towards the place I had chosen. The night before, when we set up camp, we found a large fire ant mound and avoided it. Now, my only decision was whether Trent would be face up or face down. In the end, the sun-baked buttocks made the decision to roast. We the nows and nuts. I hammered each tent peg into the ground one by one, securing an arm or leg to each peg. Trent, like a naked letter X, became restless as the ants began to make him move. "Those damn little guys have bitten me a few times. Ouch, those bites really hurt." I put a rather large stone in Trent's mouth. He needs a finger to remove it, but his hands can't reach it, covered in fire ants. By the time I finished securing him, I had been bitten dozens of times by the ants. Trent is now fully awake, throwing pleading eyes at me, twitching with each bite. "Listen here, you bastard. I could kill you. But that would be far too little pain and suffering for you. Even if you get me arrested, I'm not likely to be denied bail. You turn me over to the police. I'll make sure you disappear without a trace. They won't find your body. I thought we were friends. But friends don't sleep with each other's wives. As I made my way back to the tent, I could hear his crying and sobbing. Worried that Darcy might use Trent's phone to call for help, I quickly took it from his tent, brushing away the ants invading my clothes. Standing outside the tent, I angrily said to Darcy, "Well, I hope you're satisfied. Trust me, if the authorities get involved, I'll make sure no one finds your body. You wanted passionate sex. Now you'll face my revenge. I won't divorce Darcy. Instead, I plan to empty our bank accounts and cash in CDs. We save for house renovations. Since divorce is off the table, I'll spend the money as I see fit. I'll be in touch later. Ginger will be here soon. Good luck explaining everything to her. Oh, and by the way, I have a shotgun aimed at the tent. Don't mess with the zipper, or you might set it off. Danny, please don't leave me. I know I made a big mistake. I'm sorry." Despite the temptation to respond, I remained silent. Usually, it's a 20-minute hike back to the parking lot. But I did it in 10 minutes. Those persistent ants continue to bite me. I can't even begin to imagine what Trent must be feeling. Our car is still in the parking lot. I still have the shotgun. But it's not aimed at the tent like I made Darcy believe. After putting Darcy and Trent's smartphones on the ground, I smashed them into tiny useless pieces with the butt of the shotgun, ensuring they will never receive service again. To avoid littering fines, I collected the pieces, stuffed them into a fast food bag in the trash can. I regret not bringing a pocket full of bullets. Trent's car would have borne my anger. Instead, I severely damaged his windshield with a rock. Then proceeded to disable his headlights, side mirrors, and tail lights. With the fast food bag and shotgun, I resisted the urge to throw them into the trash, belonging to Keeping America's Beautiful Park System. When I reached a picturesque overpass, I threw the shotgun into a tranquil lake. When I stopped to refuel, I threw the remnants of the phones into the trash can. When I arrived at the bank around noon, I made a thorough assessment of our finances. The CD of deposit proof associated with our savings account. The bank was willing to impose an early termination fee. I accepted it. After that, I converted most of our checking and savings account funds into numerous Visa gift cards, depleted the bank balance. With my pockets full of these cards, I went home, packed what I thought was necessary for my journey. What next? I might be in serious trouble for what I did to Trent. At least I didn't physically hurt Darcy. But the emotional pain is overwhelming, prompting me to seek an escape. I put the phone on the kitchen table. I went to Walmart to buy a GPS jammer, planning to prevent my car from leaving a digital trace. I also added a burner phone to my cart, as well as necessities like bread, sliced meat, and fruit. I also included several packs of diet soda, aimed to maintain the appearance of a healthy diet amidst chaos. The fastest route out of the state is south. I feel a huge sense of relief. After entering the neighboring state, after refueling, I used my new phone to send an email to my parents, informing them that I had not only left Darcy, but also left the state, to dispel any rumors that I revealed Darcy's infidelity, and to assure them that I would contact them as soon as I had the chance. I won't sugarcoat it. The first week was very difficult. It was 7 days and nights of self-pity. I arrived at the southernmost tip of Texas, Brownsville, where you can easily cross the border into Mexico. The border town of Matamoros warmly welcomed me. I parked my car in a long-term parking lot in Brownsville, only with a handbag and $2,000 in Visa cards. The rest of the money I left in an envelope hidden under the back seat of the car. If someone broke into my car when I left, they would only find the custom passwords for those cards. At first I wasn't worried, considering no other cars in the parking lot were damaged. But now I'm a bit worried. Maybe they will tow those stripped vehicles. I took a tour bus through Mexico, enjoying the scenery, meeting working women along the way. Golden shades covered my first encounter, but it gradually faded. I don't know how much a prostitute costs at home, but here they are quite cheap. My finances will go much further here than in the US. But I start to long for the life back home. If emails can make your ears burn. Darcy's email approached. She firmly wanted me to know. It was Ginger who called the ambulance. I was lucky she did. Trent was on life support for several days. Critical. Apparently fire ant bites can be fatal. I was bitten about 30 times. Endured a few days of pain. But Trent had over 90% of the bites. Poor guy because of it. I might face attempted murder charges. But what evidence do they have against me? At best circumstantial. Of course my fingerprints are all over the tent. Stakes and hammer. But I can argue that I handled these while setting up the tent. My parents' email was restrained. They were disappointed in me, but also understood the pressure I was under, and the shock of finding out about Darcy's infidelity. I guess parents always try to find a silver lining. I estimate that if my Visa cards in Brownsville are still there, I can at least last a year. Worried that my passport might attract attention. Instead of walking across the bridge back to Brownsville, I chose to pay for a late-night canoe trip to a deserted beach. However, the reality of sleeping on the beach is not as idyllic as the media portrays. I endured freezing temperatures and generously contributed to the local mosquito population. At dawn, I walked back to the parking lot. It was a journey that took the whole morning, considering the considerable distance between the beach and Brownsville. After reaching my car, I drove west. Stopped at the casino in Sam's Park outside El Paso but technically in New Mexico. Booked a room for one night in a nearby motel. The warmth of a hot shower was a welcome relief. After a satisfying takeout pizza, I slept for a full 12 hours. Spent the afternoon watching live horse racing in Sunland Park. I enjoyed a sensory massage in a nearby massage parlor. It made me feel drowsy, so I spent another night near the casino. Then headed to the West Coast. I wandered aimlessly in Southern California, where things can get a little unusual sometimes. While shopping at a cheap grocery store, a friendly young woman scanned my purchases. A gallon of milk in a plastic jug. A pound of ham wrapped in plastic. A bag of bread in a plastic bag. A salad in a plastic container. And a bottle of mustard in a plastic squeeze bottle. Then she told me, "Unless you have your own, we will provide paper bags. We have stopped providing plastic bags because of their environmental impact." As I paid for the paper bag, I chuckled quietly and packed my plastic items into it. I tried some odd jobs, but physical labor was not for me. It was from aimless wanderings in antique shops and idle times on the beach. Everything seemed too predetermined. So I spent a few months in Nevada, contemplating my future. Reality began to set in. I didn't like the feeling of drifting. I missed my parents, though not Darcy. And Darcy's emails expressed her desire for me to come back, with no apologies or explanations. Reconciliation. Why consider the idea? I chose not to respond. 2 months later, I drove home. My brief period of confusion would bring challenges. But once the clouds cleared, I would regain control of my life. 2 days later, I arrived at my parents' house, wondering if Darcy had been paying the mortgage on the dream home we once shared, despite its past significance. I didn't even have the will to drive past it. When the weather is nice, my parents keep the front door open. Today is such a day. So I walked in, announcing my arrival. "Danny, you're back," my mother exclaimed. "Hey, Mom, how are you?" I answered, hugging her. "Are you just passing through? Has anyone seen you?" She asked. "No, I'm tired of running." Here is the English translation of the following Chinese text. "I need you and Dad to help me put this envelope in a safe place. Before I disappeared, I converted all the money I could into Visa gift cards. These are the remaining cards I explained about. Your father is out playing golf. He will be delighted. Have you contacted Darcy?" She asked. "Well, no." I replied, "Why would I contact her?" "Well, she is your wife. She calls us every week to ask if we have any news about you. She still loves you, even after all that happened." My mother said. "That may be true. But even if I still have feelings for her, I can't and won't live with her again. What's the point for me? It's like sitting in a car stuck on the tracks, just waiting for the next train accident." I explained. Mom looked sad and was silent for a while. "Have you eaten? I can heat up some leftovers for you, or make soup and a BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich," she suggested. "That sounds great. Whatever is easiest." "Thank you. Why don't you take a bath? You smell like you've been on the road for days." "I will, because I have been on the road." After a bath, a meal, and a nap. It was late in the afternoon. My father came back from playing golf. "Hey, Dad, how was your round today?" "Like a bottle rocket. Unpredictable where the ball would go. But I did win a skin on that par 3 over the lake. It skipped over the water, then chipped in for the only birdie of the day on that hole. Pretty cool, right? It's just a little square on the scorecard. They don't ask how, they only ask how many. Next time you have an open spot, would you mind if I join? I'm warning you now, it's been a long time since I've played." "So you stayed?" "Yes, until they come for me. I guess they might hesitate to provide bail. Because I just ran away. But you came back. This should count for something, maybe. I just don't know. How eager they are to make an example of me. I'm not sure how Darcy found out I was back. But she sent me an email. Warning. Trent wants to settle the score with me. I hadn't even considered that possibility. It seems he has recovered from his encounter with those pesky little red demons." The next morning, I went golfing with my dad, and when we came back, the sheriff was waiting for me. I was charged with aggravated assault, with bail set at $50,000. My parents bailed me out with their savings. By noon the next day, I was home. I couldn't bear the thought of my parents losing their hard-earned $50,000. So I knew I was in it for the long haul. Fortunately, my lawyer believed they couldn't prove intent. And given the circumstances, the attempted murder charges were dropped. When I got home, Mom told me Darcy called. "She's coming over to talk." "Great, thanks for getting me out," I replied sarcastically. About an hour later, Darcy arrived. Instead of involving my parents in our discussion, I went out to meet her at her car. Before she even had a chance to get out, she rolled down the window, before turning off the engine. "Hey," I said, breaking the ice. Darcy looked upset. "Hey," she replied softly. "So what do you want to talk about? We need to make some decisions. I guess we're done. What did you expect when you broke our marriage? We could try to work things out." I acted foolishly. I was selfish. I was very immature. I've aged decades since you left. You shouldn't have found out. Do you not acknowledge the past anymore? Should I ignore the fact that vows and promises mean nothing to you? What do you think would have happened if I found out? I wasn't thinking clearly. I guess I hoped you'd never find out. Why? I've asked myself this question a million times. There's no way to justify it. I can't remember anything except that I never thought I'd get caught. How many others were there? How long have you been involved with Trent? Just Trent. We did it once at work. Then on the camping trip. A few weeks before you caught us. She said, tears welling up in her eyes. What made you betray me? One day you believe in lifelong loyalty. The next you decide to give it up. I don't understand. Tears streamed down her face. She struggled to respond. I wish I knew. God, I wish I knew. I'm sorry, I have no further questions. So I stood there nodding silently. Darcy took a moment to compose herself. What about our house? I've fallen behind on the mortgage payments. We'll sell it. I never want to go there again. I doubt you can afford me. You can keep the house. Since I'm taking the rest of the money. Just have your lawyer prepare a release contract. After a long silence, Darcy expressed. I'm sorry for causing you so much pain. I regret cheating and losing you. A minute later, Darcy asked. Is the money all gone? Yes, that's why I've been staying here. Does Ginger know everything? More or less. We told the detective what triggered your reaction. She never went to the hospital to see Trent. And filed for divorce. She left Akron and warned me never to cross her path again. I hope she moved away. Because her eyes were full of hatred when she warned me. It seems you're still in touch with Trent. Not really, he went back to Akron. And wanted me to tell you he will seek revenge. Are you hungry? My treat. No, thank you. That ship has sunk too deep. It will never resurface. There was no malice in his tone. But Darcy visibly became emotional. I retreated back into the house, a few minutes later. Darcy drove away. About a month later. I found myself at the 2-Minute Warning Bar and Grill. Although it wasn't a date. I had made a friendship with a girl named Lacey. It seemed she frequented this place often. Just like me. Because we kept bumping into each other here a few times a week. At first, she seemed hesitant when I bought her a drink. But tonight. She sat across from me, we watched the game together. Our attempts at sports commentary were hilarious. I was completely taken aback. When my chair suddenly flipped. Sending me tumbling to the ground. What the hell? I exclaimed as I struggled to get up. The responsible person might be Trent. I've seen the worst case of acne. His arms, neck, and face were covered with deep scars. I forced a smile. Hey, Trent, you look good. Funny, your face matches your personality. Unfortunately. Lacey laughed, which seemed to enrage Trent even more. You're dead, Danny. Start planning your funeral. He shouted, then stormed off. We locked eyes for a moment, then Trent left. Lacey quickly informed the manager. To have security keep an eye on the parking lot. In hindsight, I probably should have called the police. Maybe they could pay Trent a visit. The bar went dark, I left without Lacey. Keeping my clean record. They say you don't hear the bullet. This proved true as it went through me. Causing intense pain and a gush of blood. Unconscious. I heard more gunshots. After surgery. I found out those gunshots were from the bar security. Taking down Trent. I was hit by a single rifle shot. Seriously damaging my liver and intestines. A slight change in trajectory could have been fatal. Or resulted in spinal cord injury. Unemployed and uninsured. Bankruptcy loomed. A religious hospital. Transferred me to a county facility. Maybe their version of a blessing. Fortunately, Trent was gone, the medical expenses were lost. The charges against me were dropped. If I were imprisoned, the county would have paid for my treatment. Win-win, except for Trent. Thank God, my parents got their bail money back. I received a get-well card from Ginger, apologizing for Trent's behavior and wishing me a speedy recovery. But no return address was provided. Visits from Darcy or her family never materialized. My daily routine usually started with a nurse's visit, taking care of my needs. Before leaving, I did physical therapy alone, because I didn't have insurance coverage. Though my mother and father both encouraged me to recover and move out, I felt guilty for disrupting their peaceful lives. Especially unpleasant was having to wear adult diapers until my body adjusted to the changes in my internal landscape. Some of my medications had unfortunate side effects, anal leakage, a truly confusing side effect for any illness I had. Nevertheless, I plan to stop this medication once I finish the current bottle. Once my legs regained strength, I started jogging. Morning, noon, and night. I stayed close to home, wearing down the sidewalks and prompting the same dog to bark at me every time I circled the block. Once I felt confident enough to venture out, I stopped at a convenience store, then went to a grocery store. Finally, at the 2-minute warning, Lacey was there, greeted me. "Hey, stranger, you lost weight." I took a look at her and replied, "Hey, stranger. You look great." "Creepy, you really scared us that night." Believe me, I was scared too. Trying to get back on track, to be a productive member of society. Hoping to run into you. Quite talkative. We took turns visiting you in the hospital. But you disappeared. Yes, no insurance. So they cut their losses. Handed me over to the county. "Ah, I see, you do look good. Are you fully discharged?" "Not yet, I have an appointment next week. I'll try to charm my way through it." Of course. Not how I imagined spending the last 3 months. "Can I buy you a drink?" "Sure, just water." Seems everything else is forbidden. Before the incident, I was just some guy buying her a drink. Now Lacey was more open to me. Turns out she and her mother owned the place. Since I wasn't really in a position to pursue her, wearing diapers tends to dampen your flirting spirit. Chatting with her was just a pleasant way to pass the time. When I was no longer wearing diapers and had enough strength for a job, I started working at an auto parts store. Starting at 16 hours a week. My hours gradually increased, until within a few months I had a full-time position. This provided me with enough income to move out of my parents' house. Also allowed me to afford health insurance at a reasonable price. This was especially helpful for paying my prescription medication. On a Friday night, when I was working the counter, just after 5, a woman approached with some wiper blades. "Can you confirm these are suitable for my car?" she said. "You're the fire ant guy, right?" Well, I blinked and replied. "Didn't someone shoot you?" "But you didn't kill him." "Yes, that's right," I confirmed. After a dismissive doubt, she commented. "Dreamy, looks like you got hit in the head." "Not tonight, maybe we can catch up over coffee, so you can share your take on what happened. Are you in a relationship or have other commitments?" "I don't want to intrude." "No, how about the day after tomorrow? What's your availability?" "I start work today at noon and end at 9. How about breakfast?" Bob recommended a country inn nearby. Not many inns like this around anymore. Just let me know a time that suits you. I have to be at work by 9. Let's make it 7 in the morning. By the way, I'm Faith. Nice to meet you, Faith. See you then, I'll make sure to look decent. I headed to the restaurant. The waitress indicated I sit wherever. Since Faith wasn't there yet, I sat in a booth waiting. Just as I was about to order, the waitress came over again. "Are you Danny?" "Yes, that's me." "Faith can't make it, but she left her phone number," she said. handing me a note with a phone number on it. My initial disappointment quickly dissipated. "Hello, Faith, this is Danny." "Oh, thank you for calling. I don't have any other way to contact you. I can't come for breakfast. My son is not feeling well. And the daycare doesn't accept sick children. So I'm waiting for my mom to come. I sincerely apologize. Can we try again in a few hours? I've taken the morning off. Maybe we can meet before you go to work. I'll treat this time because I made you wait." "Well, if you say so, of course. You have my number, call me when you're ready." After enjoying a stack of pancakes and coffee, I understood why Bob liked this place. On my way back to the apartment, I caught up on some of the online courses I'd enrolled in. My intention was to return to the type of job I had before the factory closed. Lack of computer skills was one of the reasons my resume was rejected. Around 10 o'clock, when Faith called, my nerves kicked in again. It took me 10 minutes to get back to the country inn. Faith was waiting for me outside, and we went in together. After ordering another round of breakfast, we delved into our stories. I conducted some online research about your recent misfortunes. It seems you discovered your wife in an awkward situation with a friend. Then you confined him on an anthill. And then he disappeared. When you came back, he found you and tried to take your life. Is my understanding correct? Yes. I intended to harm them. But I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger of the shotgun. I was consumed by rage. Putting him on the anthill was an impulsive decision. I drained our bank accounts and disappeared for months. However, being a fugitive didn't suit me, so I came home. They pressed charges against you, but then dropped them. How did you manage that? Trent is dead, and my medical expenses keep increasing. It was cheaper for them to release me, with no victim to pursue. It ultimately came down to a financial issue. Well, it seems it worked out in your favor. I suppose so, yet I have to live with the guilt and ongoing medical issues from being shot. What kind of medical issues? You look perfectly healthy. I suffer from intestinal and liver problems. I had to give up alcohol and spicy food. But let's shift focus. You mentioned having a son, but claimed not to be married. Can you elaborate? In college, I got pregnant after being drugged at a fraternity party. Although I could try to find the biological father, I'd rather my son not have anything to do with anyone involved that night. Whoever he is, he's despicable. Fortunately, my dad has been a great father figure for my son. How old is your son? He just turned 4. Let's see, considering you're almost 25. About right, and you? I'm 29, what do you do for a living? I work as a receptionist. How long have you been in this position? Just a few months. I used to work at a factory that closed down. I was in charge of inventory control. But there's no demand here for that skill. Are you divorced? It's in progress. The family court process takes time. I filed after the shooting incident. Then there's a 6-month separation period. After filing, oh don't worry. All the paperwork is done. We're just waiting for the court date next month. I don't even need to attend. No, I'm not interested in reconciliation. I haven't seen her since a few days after I came back from the hospital. She didn't even come to see me after I was shot. You seem indifferent about it. Did you really love her? It hurt deeply when it happened. You wouldn't have such a strong reaction unless your world was shattered. Then it was months of questioning my self-worth. What went wrong? I could dwell on the past, or focus on the future. The question for me is, did she really love me? It's a tricky question. Have you ever truly loved anyone besides your son? Faith teared up on this question, so I interjected. It's okay, I shouldn't have asked. Look, here comes our breakfast. We ate in a subdued atmosphere. Then Faith reached across the table, putting her hand on mine. Yes, she said. Yes, I replied. We agreed to wait until after graduation to get married. When I got pregnant, he completely cut me out of his life. He knew the child wasn't his, and that was the end of it. Do you still love him? Not really. Some of my memories still long for what we had. But he abandoned me when I needed him. I shouldn't have gone to that party. But being drugged and raped was never my plan. Did you report it? Yes. How ridiculous, campus security did nothing. The local police couldn't intervene. Because the state gives campus security full legal jurisdiction. It's a way to protect the university from liability. If they ignore complaints, it's like nothing ever happened. Wow, I had no idea. That's terrible. Tell me. We don't have time. Let's go. I'll help you install the wiper blades. I left them at home after the shooting. You'll have to come over sometime and do it, she said with a twinkle in her eyes. My schedule revolves around work and online courses. So call me anytime. Thank you for breakfast. It's my turn next time. Sounds good, Danny. Nice to meet you, she said, giving me a kiss on the cheek. Have a nice day, Faith. I hope your son Charles feels better soon. Jerk, his name is Charles. Faith waved as she drove away. There was a lingering feeling that I knew Faith somehow. Considering the age difference, she must have been someone's sister when I was in school. Reflecting on it felt like digging up ancient memories. When Faith called and left a message during my break, I called back, but it went to voicemail again. The back and forth of missing calls started. As I cycled home from work, Faith finally managed to connect. Our call connected. Hey, not sure if we ever caught up with each other. What's up? Just finished work. My car wouldn't start this morning, so I cycled to work. Now I'm taking a new battery home. How about you? I was wondering if you'd like to go out this weekend. I'd love to. I work from noon to 9 on both days. But I'm free on Monday and Wednesday. How about a picnic breakfast with Charles and me? Sounds perfect. Pick a day. Let's do Saturday. At Columbine Park near the recreation center. I'll be there at 9. Oh, before you go, I have this feeling we've met before. We have, yes. See you on Saturday. Goodbye, the call ended. How amusing, my thoughts were in disarray. The thrill of a date came back, bringing a series of questions. Was Charles always a truly outstanding person? Can I even be a good role model? The long absence of intimacy makes these decisions more difficult. One day at a time is my principle. On Saturday morning my nerves were overdrive. Palms sweaty. I waited in the parking lot until I saw Faith and Charles ran towards the swings in the park. Have you been waiting long? I didn't want to keep you waiting. I smiled in reply, as I appreciated the shorts of fate. I was caught off guard. Did I pass? Well, obviously it's a loaded question. You certainly did. But you already knew that. I bet you tried on several outfits before deciding on that one. Maybe Charles was unsure about me. Until I started pushing him higher and higher. On the swing, Faith sat on the blanket watching my interaction with Charles. I felt like I had passed the initial test. The date ended with a satisfying, passionate kiss. My heart was soaring. It was good to experience this feeling again. Faith and I continued to meet. Another month. Then we took our relationship to the next level. This is passionate. Neither of us has had physical contact for a long time. To the point that it's not about having sex. It's about satisfying a primal urge. Both of us are content with this. The feeling of being desired by a willing partner is exhilarating for me. And Faith finds pleasure in the tenderness I provide. In the quiet moments of the night and early morning. as I caress her breasts. She skillfully revives me, restoring my excitement. A week later, our encounters evolved into making love. I admit I lack the natural expertise to verbally please her. Yet Faith is so eager for it that she guides me eagerly with candid feedback. A month later, after exploring each other's bodies, we began discussing the direction of our relationship. One night, as Faith lay naked beside me, she gently touched my genitals. "Danny, are we exclusive?" she asked. "I hope so," I replied. "It's only been you since our picnic." "I feel the same way," I said. "Are we committed to exclusivity and giving up condoms?" "Can we do that?" she suggested. "If it makes you feel secure, we can both get tested for STDs." I proposed. "I believe I'm clean, but I'm willing to confirm." "I agree, I believe I'm clean too," she said. This was our first step. We went to get tested together, shared our clean results, and condoms became a thing of the past. Faith shared her birth control details with me. Our next in-depth conversation occurred about a month later, when Faith jokingly pinched my testicles. I believe we have fallen in love with each other, but we still tread cautiously in intimate discussions. Do you trust women? Or do you now view all of us through the same lens? Well, the initial hurt runs the deepest, so subsequent relationships often suffer unfairly. What about you? Do you harbor resentment towards men like your ex-boyfriend? Probably, as you said, the heart doesn't like pain. Defense mechanisms kick in involuntarily. Have you figured out where we first met? Not entirely. I guess I have to remember your eyes. We must have crossed paths a few times, right? A few times, but not for several days in a row. The plot becomes more complex. Don't give me any hints. I want to figure it out. Did you see us when you were a receptionist? Yes, I was at the factory. You got the front desk, yes. You rarely used the front door. So I only saw you when you had meetings. In the conference room, I see. I was married at the time, so I tried to avoid eye contact. Very disciplined, weren't you? That's how it was. So we continue from here. How about counseling? Not that we're heading there. But I know people offer premarital counseling. Maybe it can help us leave the past behind. I like that idea. So we did it. That was 4 years ago. Yes, we got married. Faith is now a full-time mom with our child. Charles is thriving in school and is a big brother. I coach his t-ball team. He considers me as his father. If Darcy and I had the same conversation that Faith and I are still having, we might have ended up together. However, our immaturity at the time led to significant consequences. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to today's story. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing. If you haven't, feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.